Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something I think everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Daily routines.
Yeah.
And, you want to be able to talk about your day in English.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Absolutely.
But like not just the basic, I wake up, I eat, I go to sleep.
Yeah.
You want to be able to like really paint a picture,
Right.
and understand all the nuances and maybe even throw in a few slang terms or, idioms to impress your friends.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool about what we've got today is that it's not just like vocabulary lists or,
Yeah.
just very dry textbook explanations.
Mhm.
We actually have a really interesting mix of sources. We've got some articles, we've got some YouTube videos.
Oh, cool.
We've even got some comments from like online language learning communities.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it's very diverse.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's really like we're kind of peeking into all these different lives around the world
Yeah, absolutely.
and seeing how people structure their days. I don't know why, but one thing that really struck me was this idea that in England, like a full English breakfast
Right.
is not really an everyday thing.
No, it's not an everyday thing at all. So
Really?
one of the videos we watched, this guy was saying that he only has a full English maybe like 5 times a year.
Oh, wow.
It's more like a special occasion meal,
Interesting.
not like your average Tuesday morning, fuel up.
So you think we've all got this stereotype in our minds that like every, person in England is waking up and having like...
Yeah, baked beans and
exactly.
blood pudding every day.
Wow. So that's what I love about these deep dives. You really get to bust those stereotypes
Absolutely.
and get a more authentic view. So
Yeah.
let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Morning routines.
Morning routines. Yeah.
I'm guessing wake up and get up probably came up a lot.
Definitely. Yeah, those are like the really basic ones, but they're important to kind of distinguish between.
Right.
So wake up is that moment when your eyes open, but get up
Ugh.
means you're actually out of bed. It's a subtle difference, but native speakers will definitely pick up on it.
Okay, so I might wake up at 7.0, but hit the snooze button
Yeah,
and not actually get up until 7.15.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we got to factor in that snooze time.
That snooze time is important. Yeah.
What else are people doing in the mornings?
Well, breakfast, of course.
Okay.
We saw everything from cereal and toast to, well, the occasional full English.
Right.
And then, of course, getting ready for work or school showering, dressing, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, and the commute.
Oh, yes.
Can't forget about the dreaded commute.
The commute, yeah.
Whether you're battling traffic or squeezing onto a crowded train,
Yeah.
it's a universal experience.
It is. It's one of those things that, like connects us all.
Right.
And it's interesting, too, because we were talking about those differences.
Yeah.
You see these kind of common threads across cultures, but the specifics can be so different.
Yeah, and speaking of specifics, we actually got a little glimpse into the morning routine
Okay.
of one of our coworkers,
Oh.
Brandon,
Yeah.
who's our marketing director in San Francisco.
Right.
And he is an early riser.
He is. He gets up around 6:00 a.m.,
Wow.
heads straight to the supermarket,
Gets
back.
the supermarket this early.
Yeah.
That's not what I would be doing at 6 a.m.
I know, it's very unusual, but then you know what he does after that? He
Yeah.
starts making dinner
Dinner before work.
before work.
Yeah,
Okay, this is blowing my mind.
I know, right? But apparently his wife loves pasta,
Oh.
and he likes to have it ready for her when she gets home.
Okay.
So it's really sweet, actually.
Oh.
It's just a little detail, but it really kind of speaks volumes about,
Right.
his family life and his cultural background.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's so personal.
yeah.
And it also hints at how, our cultural norms can really influence our routines. Like in some cultures, a big late dinner is the norm,
Right.
But maybe for Brandon and his wife, it's all about that early pasta connection. Exactly. And it just reminds us that, routines aren't just about practicality.
Yeah.
They're also about, relationships and traditions and personal values.
Right, it's like a little love language.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've gotten through the morning.
Yeah.
What's next?
Let's talk about the workday.
Okay.
The workday. So the workday, we came across a lot of phrases like start work,
Right.
finish work, attend classes, all very straightforward.
Yeah.
But even there, even in those kind of simple phrases, you start to see those subtle variations pop up,
Yeah, like how some
Yeah.
people just like grab lunch at their desk.
Oh, right.
And some people have like a full-blown like social event.
Exactly. Yeah. In some cultures, that midday break is really a chance to connect with colleagues
Yeah.
and savor a delicious meal.
Yeah.
Really recharge, not just like a quick bite and then back to the grind.
Oh, that reminds me of one of the articles we read was talking about
Yeah.
the benefits of longer lunch breaks,
Oh, interesting.
and how taking time to like relax and socialize
Right.
can actually boost productivity in the afternoon.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Like when you feel refreshed and connected,
Yeah.
you're more likely to be engaged and focused.
Right.
It's not just about the food. It's about that mental and social break.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So for you listening out there, think about your own work day, your school day.
Yeah.
Do you work from home? Do you have a long commute? Do you grab lunch on the go?
Right.
It's fascinating to kind of see how these like really universal activities play out so differently in each person's routine.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you're learning these phrases too, I think it's helpful to not just like memorize them in isolation,
Right.
but to try and picture yourself using them, Imagine those scenarios.
Yeah.
And they'll stick with you much better.
Right. It's all about the context.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've powered through the morning. We've tackled the workday.
We're doing good.
Now it's time to unwind.
Yeah.
Evening routines.
Evening routines.
What are we seeing in the sources?
Well, it seems like it's all about relaxing and recharging after a long day,
Right.
Go home, make dinner.
Yeah.
Those are kind of the common threads, but again, it's the details that make it interesting,
Yeah, like what people are making for dinner.
Exactly.
We saw everything from like, quick and easy meals to like elaborate feasts.
Right.
Depending on the culture and personal preferences.
And even the timing of dinner can vary widely.
Oh.
Some cultures eat early, some cultures eat late.
Yeah.
It's all part of that cultural tapestry.
Well, Brendan, our pasta-loving friend from San Francisco,
Oh, yeah, Brandon.
seems to have dinner prep down to a science.
He does.
It's like a ritual for him, a way to show his wife he cares.
It's a really lovely example of how routines can be infused with like personal meaning and connection,
Yeah.
It's not just about sustenance, it's about nurturing those relationships.
That's so true. Yep. And speaking of nurturing, evening routines also include those essential, like, hygiene habits.
Oh, right, of course, yeah.
Showering or bathing, brushing your teeth, getting ready for bed.
Yes. Those seem to be pretty universal.
Yeah.
Although the specific products and routines might vary from culture to culture, but ultimately it's about taking care of ourselves and winding down for a good night's sleep.
And then, the weekend arrives.
The weekend.
Time for go shopping, go to the movies,
Yes.
hang out with friends. The possibilities are endless.
Weekends are all about leisure and recharging, We
Yeah.
saw people playing sports, going cycling, visiting family,
Uh,
even going camping, getting out there and enjoying life.
I love that image of like sleeping in a tent under the stars.
But yeah,
It just makes you want to like break free from the routine and embrace adventure.
it certainly does.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that, routines aren't just about the mundane. They
Yeah.
can also include spontaneity and exploration and new experiences.
Okay, we can't talk about daily routines without tackling those tricky phrasal verbs.
Oh, yes, phrasal verbs.
They're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
And they can be a bit of a stumbling block for English learners.
They can be, but they're also essential for sounding natural and fluent.
Right.
And luckily, our sources are packed with examples of
Yes.
how these phrasal verbs are used in real-life situations.
So instead of like overwhelming you with a giant list of phrasal verbs,
Right.
we'll kind of sprinkle them throughout our
Oh,
conversation.
yeah, that's a good approach.
So for example, remember Brandon?
Oh, yeah, Brandon, our early riser.
He wakes up early, but he doesn't immediately get up.
Right.
He likes to stay in bed for a bit and read the news.
That's a good way to learn them, in context, as part of a story or a situation.
Right.
It makes them much more memorable and easier to understand.
Exactly. And the more you use them, the
Right.
more natural they'll become.
Absolutely.
So don't be afraid to experiment and have fun with them.
Exactly. Have fun with them.
Okay, so we've explored like a ton of verbs and phrases. We've
Yeah.
seen how daily routines can be both universal and culturally unique.
Yeah.
We even got a peek into Brandon's pasta-fueled mornings in San Francisco.
I know, he's an inspiration.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But we can't forget about those essential adverbs of frequency.
Oh, yes.
Always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never.
Those are key.
Yeah, they're key for like describing how often we do things.
Like our friend from the video,
Right.
who rarely has a full English breakfast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about those little details that paint a more complete picture.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we need to know how to talk about specific times,
Right.
early, late in the morning, in the evening.
Yeah, those time expressions are like the punctuation marks of our routines.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, they provide that structure and context.
Okay, so let's say you've got all this knowledge about daily routines like swirling around in your head.
Yeah.
And you're ready to like put it into practice.
Right.
How do you actually start a conversation about this?
Well, first you've got those introductions,
Right.
Hi, my name is, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Those are always good starting points.
Of course.
And then you can kind of ease into questions about their routine,
Like, what do you do for a living? Where are you from? What's your typical day like?
Exactly. And you can also use like more informal phrases, depending on the context.
Yeah.
Like what's new, how's life, how's work going.
Right. It's all about kind of reading the room.
Exactly.
And adapting your language accordingly.
Yeah.
But beyond the specific phrases,
Yeah.
what do you think really makes a conversation about routines engaging?
I think it's all about genuine curiosity and active listening.
Okay.
Don't just like fire off questions.
Right.
Really pay attention to their responses, ask follow-up questions,
Yeah.
and share a bit about yourself in return.
So it's a two-way street.
Exactly. It's a two-way street.
You're learning about their routine.
Yeah.
And they're learning about yours.
And it's a way to connect, and find those common threads.
Yeah. Even if your days look completely different on the surface,
Exactly.
is that deeper connection.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question
Okay.
we want to leave you with.
All right. I like it.
We've seen how routines can be shaped by culture, personal preferences, even our relationships.
Right.
But here's the deeper question. Do our daily routines shape us?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, do we become early birds because our jobs demand it?
Right.
Or are we just naturally wired that way?
Or do our weekend hobbies,
Yeah.
reflect our true passions, or did we just kind of fall into them out of convenience or social influence?
Right. Like, it's a fascinating chicken and egg dilemma.
It is.
And it makes you think about those seemingly mundane choices we make each day.
Yeah.
And how they might be shaping who we are,
Absolutely.
even in subtle ways.
It's a really powerful thought.
So as you go about your day, pay attention to those routines, those habits, those little rituals that make up your life. Are they serving you well?
Yeah, are they aligned with your values,
Right.
your aspirations?
Yeah. It's a great reminder that we have the power to shape our routines.
We do.
And in turn shape our lives.
It's empowering, isn't it?
It is. Well, thanks for taking us on this deep dive.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
It's amazing how much we can discover in the everyday.
It really is.